Hey friends, it's Courtney. Welcome back to my channel, Phyrra, where we talk about all things cruelty-free beauty, gothic fashion, and lifestyle. If that sounds awesome to you, click my subscribe button. Okay, so for today's video, I'm going to be bringing you the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. I put together a bunch of different looks with this palette to give you some makeup inspiration. But before we do that, let's go ahead and jump into this review. So if you are familiar with photography terms at all, you'll recognize the term the golden hour. And I feel like this palette from Urban Decay gives you that golden hour glow. If you are someone who loves mustard yellow and golds, this is your palette. This palette was made for you. So if you're unfamiliar with the term golden hour, what it means, it basically refers to the time of day, like right before, right after sunset, when the light is just diffused a little more and it's a little softer, and it's just apparently the best time for photography if you love that. I personally, and instead of being a golden hour girl, I'm more of a blue hour girl, which is that time right around twilight. So let's go ahead and insert swatches of this palette for you. We have Flyby, which is an ivory satin. We have Sweet, which is a neutral beige matte. We have Swarm, which is a soft mustard matte. We have Amber, which is a metallic copper shimmer. We have Keeper, which is a mustard brown matte. We have Golden, which is a rich gold shimmer. We have Honey, which is an intense gold metallic. We have Queen, which is a golden brown shimmer. We have Hive, which is a warm brown matte. We have Drip, which is a warm reddish brown matte. HBIC, which is a rosy bronze shimmer. This looks like a deep rose gold. And then we have Sting, which is a deep warm brown matte. So this is the Urban Decay Naked Honey palette. I really like the golden swirled packaging. It is plastic. It's very sturdy. I think this is a great design because it makes it sturdy and safe for travel. Inside you have a nice big mirror if you like that. And then of course 12 different eyeshadows and a killer brush. I'm a big fan of the Urban Decay brushes, as you know. Like a couple years ago I bought all of the new pro brushes that came out, and then I usually keep all of the double-ended brushes like this from the palettes because I just love them and use them. Okay, so now that you've seen the swatches, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the demo portion where I show you, I think 6 or 7 different looks with this palette. So for look 1, I'm going to use a matte green eyeshadow as my base. You can use any matte green eyeshadow you want. What I'm going to use is Enchanted Earth by Stila. And since this is just a bunch of ideas, I'm going to do one eye at a time, and I'm just only going to do one eye with a look, and hopefully you'll get a bunch of inspiration. I'm switching to a small fluffy brush to just blend out the edges of the green. And I hope you saw just how quick and easy it was just to swipe that green color on. For doing the lower lash line, I definitely like to switch to a small brush. I'm just gonna take the shade Honey, which is the signature star color of this palette, and put this onto my lid. Now, if you're like me and you wanna go back and add just a little bit more green up here, go ahead and do that. Now, this is really simple. It's literally just a wash of green with the gold color on top of it. You can add liner, you could add a wing, you could add mascara, false lashes, whatever you want. But this is just like a simple idea to get you going. Okay, so for the next look, take your biggest, fluffiest brush in the shade Swarm and apply this as a light wash of color. So I like using the big brush and kind of blending in circles to get like a nice big light wash of color. And as you can see, like this color Swarm just makes my eyes pop. So I like that. I'm just gonna put Swarm along the lower lid too. I just had my brows tinted today, so that's why they're extra dark. I'm not messing with them because I have to leave them alone for 24 hours. All right, so as you can see, I have like that nice light wash. So what I'm gonna do next is build up the color Sting at the outer part of the eye, because I want to add some depth. And I'm using my smallest like blending brush, which is the Sigma E36. I'm gonna go back with the blending brush and kind of like drag it towards the tail of my brow as I'm shaping it when I'm blending. Taking the color HBIC and putting that here on my inner lid. That's such a pretty color. Looks like a rose gold kind of color. I'm just gonna go back a little bit more with Sting and basically pop this brush into the socket of my eye and kind of work it about halfway through my crease. And then bringing it down around the lower lid, the outer lower lid area, maybe about a third of the way. Adding just a little bit more of swarm here at the inner part of the eye. All right, I went through on just a little bit of mascara so it'd look a little bit more finished for you. So this is just the quick 2 eyeshadow look that I created just to give you some inspiration if you were going to pair it with like one of the gold colors with green. And this is more of like a sort of deep rose gold brown type of look. I don't find wearing browns flattering on me, so I feel like this looks really weird, but I wanted to give you some like inspiration with this palette. So let's go on to the next set. Color Sweet. And apply that as a light wash all over. We're going to take the color Sting, the deepest shade in the palette, and I'm basically just kind of like building this out up on the outer third of the eye. And don't worry, we're going to blend, but I want to shape it first before we start blending. So basically I'm putting Sting along the lower lid, the outer corner of the eye, and the outer crease. And I'm gonna blend it back like this towards a like sort of cat eye shape for what I'm doing. Take the color Amber. And put it onto the center of the lid. So basically I just put amber on the center part of the lid. I'm gonna put amber on the center part of the lower lid too. And with a smaller brush, like a detail brush, I'm gonna take Flyby, which is like the white shade, the lightest shade in the palette, and use this at like the inner V area. And just kind of blend a little bit all over softly. I'm gonna go back with a little bit more of Sting. And then I'm really just sort of blending and elongating the shape with how I'm blending. I'm gonna clean up this ball out too because it's driving me crazy. I'm really just building up Sting a little bit more, and I'm gonna go back with a little bit more of Amber. And I know these are not normally colors I would wear, but that's kind of the whole point in me giving you some inspiration, is to get you out of like a makeup rut, because I get stuck in makeup ruts for sure. So it's good for me to play with other colors, even if these are not colors that I gravitate towards or have any desire in wearing in general. All right, there's one eye, there's some more inspiration. All right, I'm gonna try taking the color Sting and building this up in the smoky dome shape. Applying Sting along the lower lid here. And I'm gonna go back with this exact same brush and take the color Queen, which is like the black and gold kind of shade, and put this on top of Sting, although I think I need to make it wet to get it to show up. Yeah. All right, and here is another piece of eye inspiration. This is basically really simple. It's just Sting with the color Queen used wet on top, just for a little bit of something different. The color Keeper. I'm gonna start building that up on my lid. And I'm just building up Keeper on my lower lid too, until you can see that I am completely covered in this mustard yellow, bright yellow right on my face. And I'm gonna take a little bit of Sweet and basically blend out the edges. And I'm going to dampen my brush again. And this time I'm gonna take the color Honey. And I'm putting this onto the center of my lid. I'm going back with more of the color Keeper to buff out the edges of Honey on the lid. I'm going to take a pencil brush and I'm going to use the color Queen at the inner and the outer V. And I'm gonna go back with a blending brush and just kind of blend those edges. All right, let's try this side next. In the color Flyby again, putting at the inner part of the upper and lower lid. I'm gonna take the color Sweet next. Sweet is a great base shade for my skin tone. We're gonna take the color Swarm. Then we're gonna take the color Hive. And we're gonna use the color Drip. And then I'm going to lightly blend little circles. And then we have kind of like a weird little neutral eye gradient thing. All right, now that we've been through all of the demos, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my thoughts on this palette. So bear in mind that I'm not the target demographic for this Urban Decay palette. The Urban Decay Naked Honey palette is really more for somebody who likes neutral palettes or neutrals with a pop of color, or like I said, I mentioned before, like mustard yellows and golds. Like that's who this palette is for. I'm not much of a neutrals person. I'm not a warm neutrals person. These are very difficult colors for me to wear. So that's why I had to get very creative when trying to create some looks for you. Initially, to me, when I saw this palette, I felt like it looked boring aside from the packaging, which I thought was cute. And then when I got the colors, I'm like, I really like the shimmer colors, but to me, most of the mattes are just too similar for my taste because these are not my colors. But the benefit of that is because it's such a monochromatic palette, it's easy to blend. And when I was putting together these looks, I was like, oh yeah, that's why I love Urban Decay eyeshadows so much, because they just blend so beautifully, especially like when they're one of these palettes. They just work together so nicely. I just like more, I'm a more high contrast person, so I'm looking for more high contrast in my makeup. In my opinion, the stars of this palette are Honey, HBIC, Queen, Golden, and Amber. Like those shimmer shades are just killer. The mattes are great staple mattes. If you're a mattes fan, you can get tons of work safe, appropriate looks in here. I found it harder to create more glam looks, but that's, like I said, because I'm looking for more of high contrast, and these palettes are really not for high contrast. I can't help but feel like this is a great palette for people who love mustards and golds, but Urban Decay could have really taken this palette to the next level if they'd had like one or two subtle duochromes in here. Like that Fool's Gold color, like a gold with a green shift would have been perfect, or a gold with a blue shift would have been nice too. I feel like that would have made it just, I don't know, a little bit like more stand out in a sea of neutral palettes. If you are someone who loves neutral palettes, you love mustard, you love golds, you're gonna love this palette. If you're not somebody who likes those things, skip this palette, get something else. I do feel like this is another solid palette from Urban Decay. So if you are an Urban Decay fan like I am, this would be another great palette to add to your collection. But if you're somebody like me who's craving colors, or you're not really into these colors, you know, I would just skip. So what do you think of the new Urban Decay Naked Honey palette? Is it a palette for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you like this video and found it helpful, entertaining, or fun, please give it a thumbs up and share. I love it when you share my videos. It really helps me out here on YouTube. It basically tells YouTube that my videos are good and worth watching, so I appreciate it when you do it. If you don't like this video, hit the thumbs down and tell me why. Make sure you actually tell me why. Don't just hit the thumbs down and not tell me I can't improve if I don't have constructive criticism. If you're wondering what to watch next, check over here, because I'm going to tell you something awesome that you should check out. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.